Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi everyone, we are from Group 1. In this video, we are going to explain about correlational research. But before we deliver the topic, let me introduce our group members. There are David Allaric, Alvi, Aqmaliyah, Safitri, Citra Yasa, Dila, Prila, Jayuna, Dina Amelia, and me, Restika Arisandi. Well, in this slide, you can see the table of content. The first one, there are definition, history, basic question, and example. The second one is characteristic. The third one is purposes. The fourth is possibility result and correlational coefficient. The fifth is types of correlational study. And the last is steps to conduct a correlational research. Let's start with the definition. What is correlational research? Well, correlational research is a type of non-experimental research method that investigates the relationship among two or more non-manipulated variables. According to Creswell, correlational research is used by investigators to describe the degree of relationship between two or more variables or sets of scores. Here is a brief history about correlational research. In the last of 19th century, statisticians developed procedures for calculating the correlational research. Then, in 1895, Carl Pearson presented a familiar formula for correlational research that we know today in a paper. After that, in 1897, Yule, a Pearson student, also developed solution for correlating 2, 3, or 4 variables. The next is basic question. What is the relationship between two or more variables for a given set of subjects? There are many examples that you can find by yourself, and here I put my example. What is the relationship between self-confidence and speaking achievement? Or is there any relationship between self-esteem and students' reading comprehension? You can find it by yourself from Google or YouTube. And then that's all from me. I hope it is understandable for you. And the next material will be delivered by my friend. Thank you.
Hello everyone. Let me introduce myself. My name is Dina Amelia. My student's number is 1921222041. So let's move on to the next material about the characteristics of correlational research design. And the correlational research design, the sample size of at least 30 participants. It means that when you want to conduct the correlational research design, your sample must be at least 30 participants. And the second, it is backward looking. What does it mean? Correlational research doesn't take the future into consideration as it only observes and measures the recent historical relationship that exists between two variables. In the sense, the statistical patterns resulting from correlational research is backward-looking and can cease to exist at any point going forward. Correlational research observes and measures historical patterns between two variables, such as the relationship between high income earners and tax payment. The third is the correlational research is dynamic. A statistical pattern between two variables that result from correlational research are ever-changing. The correlational between two variables changes on daily basis, and such it cannot be used as fixed data for further research. Data resulting from correlational research are not constant and cannot be used as standard variable for further research. The next one is outcome of the study allows the researcher to describe whether and what degree two or more variables are related. And the third is one group of subjects measure on two variables. Variable must be quantifiable and usually represent at least ordinal scale of measure. And the next is variable not usually manipulated and cannot the correlational research design it cannot be used to determine causality. So in the correlational research it is just to find the relation between variables, not the causality. And a consistent of relationship can be used to predict future events. And the last one is the degree of relationship is expressed as a numeric index called the coefficient of correlation. The coefficient correlation will be described by my partner. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Citra Yasa. My student's number is 192122050. Here I'll continue the material. And the next material is purposes of correlational research. Correlational research has the basic purposes. The first one is explanatory and the second one is prediction. C for the explanatory. The explanatory is, to explain the association between or among variables and the characteristics here, such as the first one is the investigators correlate two or more variables. As I said before, that this explanatory, see the association between or among variables. So that means the investigator will, correlate two variables or more than two variables. And the second one is researchers collect data at one point in time. Yes, researcher investigates for one shot in time for the data. And the third one is the investigator analyze all participants as a single group, because this is correlational research, which means different from the experimental research. Collected scores or data from only one group, not treatment. Researchers use all scores on a continuum. And then the next one is the researchers obtain at least 2 scores for each individual in group, 1 for each variable. We will mention how many scores were collected. For example, for each individual in a study of optimism and appropriate health behaviors, the researchers would collect 2 scores. The first score is for an optimism score, and the second score is for the health behavior scores. And then the next one is the researcher reports the use of the correlational statistical test or an extension of it in the data analysis. This characteristic is to provide the additional information. Researcher includes reports about the strengths or the direction of the correlational test. And the last one is the researcher makes interpretation or draw conclusion from the statistical test result. The conclusion do not establish a probable cause and effect, because the researcher use only statistical control here. Alright, and the second one is prediction. The prediction is to identify the variables that will predict an outcomes, or the criterion. If you find that 2 variables are correlated, then you can use one variable to predict the other. The higher the correlation, the more accurate the prediction. You can see the characteristics here. The first one is the others typically include the word prediction in the title to sign or to mark that this is the prediction. The other usually include the word prediction on the title. And the second one is the researchers typically measure the predictor variables at one point in time and the criterion variables at a later point in time. For example, the predictor of teacher success is mentoring, And the mentoring is measured during a student-teacher training program, whereas success is measured later after the students have performed as a teacher. And the last is the others forecast future performance. They usually state this, intent in the purpose statement or in the research question. In the justification of the research problem, writers also mention they intend to predict some outcomes. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Hello, my name is Alvi Aqmaliyah Safitri. My student's number is 192122066. Now we are going to talk about part 4, possibility results in correlational research and correlation coefficient. When you conduct a correlational research, you may receive 3 possible results at the end of your research. The first one is positive correlation, the second is negative correlation, and the last one is zero correlation. Let's find out each of them one by one. The first one is positive correlation. It happens when your variables move at the same direction. This same direction can be both increase or both decrease. Here I provide you an example and let's identify it together. As students spend more time for study, their exam scores also increase. Variable A here is as students spend more time for study. It is increased, right? And the second variable is their exam scores also increase. The key point is increase, so both of variable A and variable B are increased. It shows that this is positive correlation. Now let's take a look to the next one, negative correlation. It happens when your variable move at the opposite direction. So the one variable is increase, however the other one is decrease. Here I also provide you an example and let's identify it together. As someone exercises more, his body weight becomes less. First variable is as someone exercises more, it increases, right? And the second variable is his body weight becomes less. It is decrease. So this one shows that this is negative correlation. How about the last one? Well, zero correlation, as its name, it means that both of the variables or all variables does not have any relationship at all. So the result of your research may be zero. And yeah, there is no correlation between variable 1 and variable 2, and there is no relationship between them. Now let's take a look to correlation coefficient. It can be defined as the numerical representation of the strength and direction of a relationship between variables. Or it can be simplified as the symbol of your research results, okay? The symbol. And it ranges between -1 to +1 and never more than that. So if you conduct a correlational research and you find that the correlation coefficient of your research is -2, it indicates that you may make some errors in your measurement. And what is -1 and +1 means? -1 indicates the negative correlation. +1, on the other hand, indicates positive correlation. Meanwhile, 0, as I mentioned before, indicates zero correlation. Okay? That's simple, right?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is David Allaric. My student's number is 192122053. I would like to explain the types of data collection method in correlational research. There are 3 types of data collection method in correlational research. The first is natural observation, the second is survey method, and the third is archival method. The first is natural observation. In natural observation, the researcher observes people's behaviors as shown in natural environment where they are exist. The researcher paying closing attention to natural behavior patterns of the subjects under consideration, and the researcher must take extra care to ensure that subjects do not suspect that they are being observed or they deviate from their natural behaviors. It is best for all subjects to remain anonymous in order to avoid a breach of privacy. The advantages are it allows the researcher to fully observe the subjects in natural state. It can inspire ideas for further research. The disadvantages are time-consuming, expensive. Subjects might behave differently if they are aware of being observed. The second is survey research. It involves random sampling of the subjects and the researchers give questionnaire to them. It is very flexible because the researchers can gather the large amounts data in a short time. The advantages are cheap, easy and fast, flexible, and it can collect the large amounts of data in a short time. And the disadvantages are results can be affected by poor survey question, and results can be affected by unrepresentative sample. The last is archival method. It is a type of correlational research method that the researchers use the already gathered information. In this method, the researchers also use the earlier studies conducted by other researchers or historical records of the variables being analyzed. The advantages are archival data is plentiful and already been collected, easy and less expensive, minimize response biases. And the disadvantages are can be unreliable and important information might be missing.
Hello everyone, my name is Dila Prila Jayuna. My student's number is 1921222047. Alright, the next material is about the steps to conduct a correlational research. Simply, there are 5 steps to conduct a correlational research. The first step is selecting problem. In this step, we select the problem or the topic that will be discussed and studied in our research. Here is the example. Is there any correlation between self-esteem and students' reading comprehension? This topic or problem will be discussed and studied in our research. Alright, the next step is choosing sample. According to Creswell, ideally we randomly select the individual in choosing the sample, and the number of the sample is at least 30 subjects. But the larger the number of the sample, the better the sample because it is more representative, right? After that, we select the instrument that will be used to collect our data. It can be through archival data, test, or questionnaire. After that, we start to collect the data, and after the data is collected, we can start to analyze the data using statistical procedure. It can be Pearson product moment, Spearman, etc. And there are several applications that will help us to analyze the data. In this case, Microsoft Excel and SPSS. After we get the result, we can interpret the data whether the hypothesis is accepted or not. Then we conclude whether there is a correlation between the variables or not. Alright, those are the steps to conduct a correlational research. And finally, we are at the end of our presentation. Then we hope this presentation will be useful for us. And if you guys have any questions, please contact our member groups. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.